how I've gotten to where I've gotten to is admitted that my biggest opponent is sitting me in the mirror. And I'm going to need someone other than me to overcome me. It is okay to choose how to live, but you need to be sustainable because if you're not sustainable, you're vulnerable. And how viable are you? How much can you get your word out? If you are in a vulnerable state, you have full autonomy of your life. How do you want to live? What's the impact and what do you need to make that happen?
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the Vibrant Soul Society, the conversations. Our mission here is to simply help you discover that you are greater than your negative thoughts. And beyond your thoughts is our true essence, that vibrant soul. So today we are very honored to have a special guest with us, Deb. So Deb, welcome to the conversations.
Oh my goodness. I think that it's in conversations that, like when you feel really comfortable with someone and you're starting to have conversation, it just kind of it takes all the armor off. You know what I mean? You get to know someone and it can happen so quickly. I am really looking forward to our chat today.
So people are unfamiliar with you. How would you describe yourself, Deb?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. That's a worldly question. How do I describe myself? Well, I'm a women entrepreneur that loves to play in the world of business and create platforms for people to have more exposure so they can share their passion. I consider myself a bit of a servant leader that way, just creating platforms, standing behind the curtain and helping people express what they've got going on in their projects and their businesses. I also have a whole other world where I'm a mom, you know, I am the mom of two really cool, groovy humans, a daughter and a son. I'm spending a lot of time helping my son launch his fashion business. So I'm a momager. I think really honestly, if I had to summarize it up, I would think that I'm just a servant leader.
That's great. So, what led you to this place of being servant leader? Was there something that happened in your life that really caused this pivot, this change?
You know what? I was having this conversation earlier. I was on a show earlier and we were talking, the conversation about is what makes you do what you do now? Like, what was the pivotal? What was the moment? What was the clarity? And I'm like, when I look back in my life, particularly because I've been entrepreneuring for a long time and over 30 years, and it changes, right? It has evolution. And I started off in the music industry, went into the holistic health industry, and now I'm in the media world helping people that are entrepreneurs. And so when you think what takes you here, many different things, but the first first memory that I have of knowing that there was something different that I was supposed to do. I was about 5 to 6 years old and I was standing on the sidewalk and I was looking up at my house. And I mean, if I was to articulate what a 5 or 6 year old would say at that time, it was just like, I'm going to live differently. I just knew that style of living was not the style that I was going to have for my future. And I think that either kicked in or I had a natural drive and aspiration. You know, my mom used to get phone calls from the neighbors. I was 2 years old and I would hop my crib over to the window, pop the window open. And we lived in this big heritage house. And I would crawl out my window and walk on the banister and hop myself down. And I would dig a hole under the fence or climb over the fence and I'd just be taken off. Like I just had stuff to do. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had stuff to do. And it was nice because we lived in a safe neighborhood. Everyone knew each other and they would just call my mom and go, yeah, she's running down the street again. It's like the moment I left the music world and went into holistic medicine, I had a very big, what I would call download. I wouldn't have called it then a download. I would have called it like, what the hell just happened? But I came home from, working with the bands. You come home at 5, 6 in the morning. And I went to take my makeup off and I'm in the mirror and the mirror went pitch black. I couldn't see myself. Now I was in my 20s. I was not tapped into spirituality or downloads or, none of that stuff had happened for me yet. And I remember when I saw myself again, I heard the words, you're done. And for whatever reason, I called the club the next day and said, I'm not coming back. And they're like, are you sick? Do you have a flu? And I'm like, no. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. Like, they're like, what are you going to do for money? I'm like, I don't know. And that was, you know, a good chunk of time ago. And I'm still here and I have some rice in my bowl. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I can't. say one thing, I think it was many things.
Hear this quite a bit. People have heard that one voice, that one thing, and it's just like life just changed completely different. I would say that your earlier experiences prepared you to be in a place for hearing that voice. If it
Hmm.
came too soon, then be like, oh, that's crazy. I'm really doing well in this music thing. But I think it was this deeper part within you say it's time for a change.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And
You know, it was interesting. It's an interesting world. I love music. Love music. I was listening to some Bob Dylan before I popped on here, right? Because Bob's pretty hot these days. But, it was just time for a change, like you said.
yeah, so you just heard a voice that you're done. It's like, all right, well, when am I done? I guess I'm done music, but what's next? So
Yeah, I
what
think I was just done that in that career with that lifestyle. Like it was, it's a lifestyle, right? How we live now is a lifestyle. How, that whole music scene in the 80s, that was a lifestyle.
so after you were done, you had no clue what you're going to do next.
Nope, I didn't. I didn't. I called my girlfriend and she's like, you can come stay here. And I was like, okay. And I started to get into personal development. The book that changed my life was Shakti Gaiwan, Living in the Light. And she just taught some stuff that made sense to me. And then John Bradshaw was around, Healing the Shame That Binds You. All that started to happen. And somehow, for some reason, I started to tap in and start associating with people that were looking to make change. I went to a course for you to be able to discover what was some of the best things that you could do based on your personality. And it was a 6-week course for people that wanted to change their direction. And at the end of that course, I was going to get a degree in women's studies and religious studies and help women in third world countries create economic platform because I was really interested in women's rights and women's history. And then I had the wanted surprise of getting pregnant with my daughter, and that changed the trajectory of university. And I grabbed a muffin from a store that was gluten free. There was only one in, Vancouver, and it had a pink flyer and it talked about a massage class. And I picked it up and I knew. And in my second class, I'm like, I'm going to do this the rest of my life. And I created a healing studio of 18 staff and I worked on 30,000 clients. I mean, it just really, that's how that happened. It wasn't that, it was just, I don't know, from a book to a flyer to being willing to learn to doing some counseling to taking a class on changing my life. And all sorts of changes had to happen on the inside and on the outside. And it was exploratory time.
That's what I really see too from some individuals is that it's not about like planning things out or figuring things out. It's like letting life unfold. And you're
Hmm.
just like curious, like, oh, what's this? What's this? What's
Yeah.
this? Keep going to these different rabbit holes, and it led you into this life, into where your journey takes you now. So that's really interesting how you fell into self-development. Just did that book just show up? Were you on a quest for that first book?
You know what? I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how that book ended up in my hands. I don't remember. I just remember when I made a decision to change that part of my life that I reached out to people that were doing the same and they made suggestions and there was this class and I took this class and I mean, we're talking 30 years ago, 35 years ago. So I don't remember when, how, and if, because I've had lots of spiritual moments since then. But yeah, I guess it just all added up. I mean, yeah. I mean, you just wait for when your body screams yes or when the message is loud enough.
Yeah, sometimes we need a really strong message.
Yeah, really strong.
So it's interesting when you were just talking earlier today, you were saying that you help entrepreneurs play in business or women play in business. I think it's really an interesting concept because a lot of people aren't playing in business. They get really serious and they wonder why business doesn't work out.
Well, I think the term play in business is maybe because I come from the media sector on it that I use that word. I mean, I had someone say to me a couple of days ago, they're like, so what does your future look like? I go, same as it is now. Not that I don't plan for my life or have aspirations, but I don't have that clock that says at this stage. And I'm like, I'm in. And that tends to be the mind of an entrepreneur or the mind of a creative anyways. So two things is one is I am a top performance coach. And people say Deb makes wealthy healers. And what they mean by that is that I help people take a look at their business that, you know, may not be doing what it is that they want their business to do. And then so I help them have this really healthy relationship with their business. Stand back, look at it like it's not you. And what do you want that business to yield so you can have a playful, joyful experience with it instead of, oh my gosh, it's not giving me, I got more months left before the money and all the things. And so I create this really beautiful plans and accessibility and strategic planning and top performance and all the infrastructure that allows someone to really truly play in their business at a very return of investment. Like you are putting an investment into your business. It needs to give back to you so you can get your message out. And then in the world of media, we use the word play because come onto the podcast, come onto the stage. Let's teach you what your media score is. How can you use media as a platform to really interact, which is like playing? You're interacting with your customers, your future customers, your prospects, whatever. There's a play to it. And once you are solid and I kind of call it sustainable. Once your business is sustainable, then it does feel more like play compared to more like work. Now, there probably isn't anyone more serious about their mission than myself. I've built 7 companies. I've been doing it for 35 years. We've gone rice and peas to steak and lobster. I know the back against the wall. I know when
Mm.
things happen. And I know what it's like to be vulnerable in your business. And I know what it's like to be, very viral in your business, very, very strong. That's the world of an entrepreneur. But it's difficult to play with your business and have fun if you're not making money. I mean, money's not a bad thing, but I help people do that so that it does feel better. So it does feel easier because it can be heartbreaking. Like literally it can break your heart. You have a message. You have something that you need to do. You feel like this is dharmic. This is spiritual. This is your gift. This is and you're like, frig, like I can't buy the course that I need to because I don't have the revenue. So I kind of go to the source of that. And that's what I mean about make it fun. Because, you know, that's just the truth. I'm a bit of a truth teller. Like that's the truth, right?
Yeah, that's what I was really thinking of. The playful energy, I think he allows to accomplish more versus very stressful. When I saw Richard Branson speak, he's very playful. He's really enjoying life, but yet he knows exactly what to do. So he's not stressed out. He's really having fun. You can see up there that he was having fun.
Yeah. And you wouldn't call someone like that not serious. You've got to be serious. You got to be, to me, seriousness comes in reverse engineering and strategic planning and the foundation. Like that's, you got to be there or get up and do your thing. The 8-hour Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, depending on what you want your business to do for you by nature is not applicable.
Right. Yeah. It's very hard to build a business. And then you want to be serious, but not stressed out,
Yeah. Yeah.
strategic and playful.
Yeah. A little bit of stress is perfectly normal. And it's actually good for your nervous system to have a bit of stress, but not where it starts to deplete you.
Right. Exactly. Because a lot of
Yeah.
people are getting depleted with just starting out business, like trying to figure out all the pieces and trying to understand how this falls together is very
Mhm.
stressful, and too much stress is overwhelm and burnout and all these things. Some kind of practices that you use to make sure that you're not burning out, that you're not overstressed. Is there anything that you personally use to keep yourself in this playful energy?
Lots of things that I do. I've been doing this for a long time. I had a private health studio for a long time. So I lean strongly on really good supplementation. When people want to know what to take for whatever, I just had a woman call me because she's starting to lose her memory and doesn't know where her glasses are. So I taught brain health and all the things. I truly believe in good nutraceuticals and good supplementation. I also eat very cleanly. Like I haven't had sugar, wheat, and dairy for 30 years. So I foundationally prepare myself to be able to go at the world pretty hard because I do. Like right now, we're preparing for the Oscars. My days are 12 hours if I'm lucky. We're doing 18-hour days right now. And that's what it is. It's a part of growth. So I do that. I only listen to really good music. I only listen to people I really want to listen to, like my YouTube information. I watch comedy before I go to bed every night, probably 15 years. Every night I listen to comedy. I clear that out of my head. I don't watch news to the depths of news. I know what I know and I know what I need to know. And if there's something I want to know more about, I can Google it. I taught brain health. So if you watch something traumatic on TV, it takes 30 hours for your brain to move that through. So now you watch the news every 24 hours and you're watching trauma. You wonder why you're exhausted and wake up in the morning. I do a lot of stuff around the brain. I take a brain supplement that's just rock star. I really am very careful who's in my world.
That's great. That the calming state of play, that fun, the enjoyment to release that what can be really heavy times right now as you're preparing for the Oscars and all this stuff that can really bog the mind down. So it's really interesting to talk about trauma that we're not really clearing that stuff out. We're just building, building, building. Your outlet is comedy, laughing and enjoying
Mhm.
life. Did you ever incorporate things like yoga or meditation or anything like that?
I taught meditation for 25 years, so I can get into a meditative state pretty quickly. What I'm doing right now is kind of what I shared with you, but I think by nature, I am in a half meditative state. I have good self talk in the morning, all the things. I walk. I'm sitting on a health pad right now as I'm talking to you, which is good for my body. Massage. Me and my girlfriend yesterday went and got a reflexology treatment and took ourselves out for a nice dinner. So the self care part for sure.
Yeah, so you can stay in this place of being on point, I guess I would say. So you're here focused, so you constantly in this meditative state, which just means that you're here, you're on point, you're not into the trauma stories or the difficulties of life. You're just like, okay, what needs to be done and focus. So it's a constant meditative state that you trained yourself on.
Well, and I'm also a top performance coach. So 30 years of top performance. That doesn't, people see the results, but the results come from how my brain functions, being very selective, doing, people like, you should not multitask because, blah, blah, blah. I am complete opposite. The only time you shouldn't be multitasking or layering is if you're a brain surgeon or you're watching your grandkids. I mean, stay focused. But, I think that you can do things that I can grocery shop and I can listen to a YouTube. I can grocery shop and listen to a video. We could have a call while I'm going for a walk. And so I think because I optimize my time, it allows me to have more of and just having the type of methodology that allows me to be in a meditative state because I know stuff's done. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people can't let their brain go because there's this and there's this and there's this. And if you put that away in your planner and if you structure that, your brain is allowed to breathe and be free. So you can be more in the moment. So that's why I'm like, if I got stuff to do, I layer it up as much as I can. I'm here with you. I'm clearly not doing anything else but being here with you, but I can be here with you because those things are put in their place.
So that's probably how you help these entrepreneurs is like how to get more focused, more structured, like you're talking about, so they're not so scattered and not focused.
Yeah, and everybody's structure is different, and everyone's goal is different, and how people need to do things. There's 27 different ways to learn, which means let's just say 27 people want to get to six figures. There's 27 different ways to optimize. There's some fundamentals, but what one person is really good at, the other one. So it's a different personalized journey to there, but we can all achieve the things that we want to achieve for whatever we want to achieve them for.
That I say that we are inherently limitless. It's the mind that's creating these limitations and these stories that's saying you can't have this.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I say the battle's always you and you. There's a great movie. I think it's in the first Creed movie. If you follow the Rocky series, right? Dun-dun-dun-dun. I find those movies very inspiring and motivating. So there's a scene in it where Apollo, the young Apollo now, Apollo Creed, like Rocky fought him and he died, and so the young Apollo finds Rocky and says, I want you to train me, and of course he says no, and then he finally says yes, and he said, okay, are you ready for this? And he takes them to the scene in the gym where there's a mirror. And he's like, okay, I want you to punch it out or whatever. And he goes, that right there, what you're staring at, that's your biggest opponent. And I think for me, I've watched that movie 1,000 times because I just love that scene where really the battle is within. It's you to you, which is why I'm a true believer. I'm a coach and a trainer, but people are like, how did you get here? I go, coaches, trainers, experts, therapists at time, like reach out to reach up. And a lot of people get jammed up about that. I can't afford it. I can't this, I can't that. I'm like, cool. What are you going to do? Stay doing the same thing you're doing, or you're going to watch some YouTube videos? And nothing against YouTube, I'm on it. But I mean, seriously, how I've gotten to where I've gotten to is admitted that my biggest opponent is sitting me in the mirror. And I'm going to need someone other than me to overcome me. If not, I would overcome already. I'd be where I want to be already. So I say to people, if you're not where you want to be, you got to step up somewhere. You got to go outside of yourself, because you're probably part of the problem in the most beautiful spiritual way.
Yeah, I love that idea to reach out that somebody can see, what I call these mental blind spots that you may not be able to see because you're too close to it. That's
That's,
probably where you guide people. Are you even aware that you're doing this?
yeah. Or look, what about what people say to me? Because, they want a lot of help with media per se, right? So they're like, I've been on 20 podcasts and no one's calling me. I'm like, yeah, it's probably not the podcast. Now, maybe you're not picking the right shows, but what is it that you say on this show? What's your relationship with the host? And there's different ways to make dinner. There's different ways to do podcasts or media, and it's in the details, which is why we tend to miss it. Most people are doing the right thing. Like, they're exercising, they're doing the best they can. They've got lots going on. They've got financial responsibilities. 99% of the time, doing the right stuff. It's how you do the right stuff that will yield you a different result. And I think my specialty is working with the how, teaching someone how. That's my specialty. But honestly, most of us are doing the right thing. And at the very least, we're doing what we think is right. And therein lies part of the challenge, because we went to the course and they said, do, podcasts or get on stage, or they said, do social media. And so now you're like, doing what you're doing, or they're like, do a business plan, and all the entrepreneurs don't do it. So there's things that we do and we don't do. And so everyone is doing literally the best to follow, the best thing that they can do for themselves and their family. And we all need support, me and you, at offering voice and all these things. This is all a beautiful thing. It's just really how people do it that makes tenacity a lot easier when you're in a business that feels fulfilling. You're seeing movement. Entrepreneurship's hard. If anyone says it's not hard, then you're not working hard enough. It is hard, but you can make it easier and make it more joyful.
Yeah, it's just really about that thinking that we do. Sometimes we're overthinking things, we're studying things, but it might not be your way. Just because it was somebody's way, maybe it's not your way, and you have to find your way. So that's probably where you're helping individuals as you versus you. And you mentioned there's 27 ways. Maybe we need to find that one way for
Mm-hmm.
you as opposed to, oh, that person's not your way. This is how we create your new reality.
I learned that when both my son and my daughter had a learning difference. And so the way that they were being taught to was fair, that, the teacher's got to teach 35 people, like in school. And then it was finding about how they learn. Then the information could be shared differently or done differently or what have you. Then you're going to have a different result. But, you don't know that until you know that. So that was very interesting when I heard that. I was like, oh, yeah. So even when I do my classes, even when I do my group classes, I make sure that I hit all the main components, whether it's visual or audio. I check in and I go, does anyone need me to give a different example of what that is? And there's ways that you can adapt to that as best as possible.
Yeah, I think that's really a big key. Though people may even not catch that, adapt to
Mm-hmm.
changing because they're locked in that you versus you again. This is the way they've always done it. Well,
Mm-hmm.
how's that working for you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, how do you help people to see that they're not adapting, that they're not changing, that they're not doing what needs to be done?
Or it gets referred to me, the frustration has become obvious. So they're like, they're either watching my world or people that I've worked with and see social proof. Social proof is there's a difference in someone's experience, right? So their friend is like, I'm a lot happier. My business is working better. My relationships are changing. Like, there is a change that they see in someone. Most people that are uncomfortable know they're uncomfortable. They need a safe place to say, this project or nonprofit or business or whatever isn't serving me as soon as I would like it to serve me. I've got kids to feed. I've got a mom to take care of. Like this thing needs to hit. Or people are like, I'm starting a business and I really want to make it easier. I watch what people are doing out there. So I think by nature, people know their pain point. And I think by nature, people are inquisitive to learn things. If not, YouTube wouldn't exist. Do you know what I mean? So people are inquisitive. I think it's usually a pain point, or there's people that are going to networking groups. They're looking to build their business. They're looking to have experiences. And I would say probably half the room, if not 60%, are not where they want to be financially. It shows up for them. Or they're freaking tired. They're like, I cannot possibly take this long to get to where I want to go. I believe in hard work. I'm going to do what I do, but they're getting tired. And then I think when they have a conversation with me and I tell them that they're normal and it's okay and we all get tired, and let's just see if we can tweak that up a little bit. And when they start to see the relief and feel the relief, then they start to have a different experience. But I think most people, by the time they get to me, they understand there's a frustration. They
Mm.
understand. And then it's my job. It's my job to deliver the information that'll help you in a way that you. Do you want me to give it to you in a different format? Let me use some examples. Let's walk through it. I'm not going to tell you this is, if you want to close a sale, do this technique. I'm going to go, let's role play. What are you comfortable with? How can I help you with that? What's the best verbiage for your customer? I'm the details person. I'm the how, not the what, remember? So most people know what to do. They just don't know how to do it. And I think that's where God got me, like that's where my zone of genius is.
Right. The details of how, but he's brought something up very interesting. I was just thinking about, people are curious, they're inquisitive, but they might not be asking the right questions.
Well, and I think too, people are afraid to be vulnerable. It's in the private conversations that I have with people. They're like, "Oh, can I have a conversation with you?" And then because we all go to these networking groups, we all go to these things, we all go to that, and no one wants to go, "Hi, I'm Deb Drummond. I have a media company and my business is really hurting right now. And I'm just wondering if there's anyone else." Like, no one does that. And it's not
Mm.
appropriate either, right? So we are professionals in business and we are looking to do business and what have you. And no one's being vulnerable in that arena, which makes it, even for the solopreneur, which I work, 90% solopreneur, probably 10% organization. It makes them feel even more like something might be wrong with me or I'm not doing something right, because the assumption is that everybody's rocking their business and everybody's rolling their business. And even though you psychologically know that's not possible, you internalize. So I think when you have someone like myself that you can share the truth with, or your aspirations, some people, they want to get to 7 or 8 figures. I mean, there's a platform that I talk, there's 7 to 10 figure income earners there. I can tell you, I'm not a 10 figure income earner. And some people, they would be intimidated being in that room. But when I work with someone, I'm like, be cool and groovy where you are, like where you are, and build on it. And some people may never want to be a 10 figure or a 7 figure or an 8 figure. No problem. So I think it's about people being super good where they are, having the permission to be where they are and having those dreams and aspirations. Or if they want to be 10 figures, sometimes people are afraid to even say that out loud. It's okay. You might want to go for drinks with Branson on his island or Ruby. Let's go. Let's get you on those shows. Let's get you in that place. You want to go to the Oscars too? No problem. Here's, call her, get a ticket. So I think that it's about opening up your world and owning where you want to go and then being willing to take the steps to do it.
Word vulnerable, because allow in new information.
Yeah. And you take down your mask in front of the right person at the right time, right? And I think
Yeah,
that's people, I'm very fortunate that my clients trust me. They feel comfortable. Yeah.
that's really that, because if you're not being vulnerable to new ideas, you're not going to be that top performer in your space.
Yeah. You got to be coachable. You know what I mean? Like, that it's just like being willing to be coachable. Most people that are knocking on the door are open for new information. I mean, really, that's what coachable is, right?
Yeah, be open to new ideas and new ways of executing.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like the people that you're working with are willing to take those steps. Sometimes 'cause they're frustrated, so they have to do something.
Well, and I think like you have a great vibe about you. You're very personal development oriented. So people who are attracted to coming out to your show, spending time with you are probably like same thing for me. It's like I tend to attract people that are holistic minded, spiritually based. Doesn't mean that they have to have a spiritual practice. It means that they have an understanding that there's more than just them in the world. There are people that are very attracted to business from a financial standpoint, an impact standpoint. Those tend to be where people come to me and they're not afraid to say, I'm looking for that. Or they're in a spiritual based business and they're like, how do I relate spirituality and money? That's kind of where I attract my people, you attract your people. And I just think that that's half the battle.
Yeah, I think that's half the battle for a lot of spiritual people is that they want to make the impact, but don't know how to do it without like they get into these spiritual belief systems that really prevent you from making that impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We've got proof all over the world of how that's not accurate information. Gloria Steinem said something, and I don't know if you know who she is, but she's one of those powerful icons for women's rights. And I remember listening to her speak, and she said, you can make movement and change, and you can do it. And there's no whichever way you choose is good. You can carry a placard around a government building, and you can chat and chat and chat. And she did, right? Like this is a picture of her on my wall with Maya in the streets of New York making change. You can also go get a degree, right? And you can get inside the building and you can make change from either place. And I think that the same thing applies to people that are in spiritual based buildings, spiritual based businesses. You are making change. Like you are making change and making movement in your world because of who you are. How you take that to the world is up to you. But here's the deal. No one ever said that, you are a better spiritual person if you don't have enough money at the end of the month to take care of yourself. No one said it, but there was this common theme where we honored people that lived in a poverty way that were, impoverished or what have you, thinking they made a bigger impact. I would challenge that. I had to challenge that in myself. I'm an empath. I'm like, oh, let me give it to you. Let me give it to you. I mean, I'm a recovering codependent. Okay. Like if you were hurting, I wanted to help fix you. And so, I had I worked on 30,000 clients. Someone needed something. That was my nature. But I also had people, thank goodness, in my life going, well, do you want to be in business next year? And for me, I had a very good internal barometer. I knew I had kids to feed. I knew I had rent to pay. So I couldn't give as much as I wanted to give because that's my natural state, which is why I'm a servant leader. But really, if you take a look at, I used to give people the example, like I'm pretty sure Deepak, has some race in his, I'm pretty sure, people that we look up to, whether it's Shakti Gaiwan, whether it's Simon Sinek and Brene Brown and all these people that talk about, their thought leaders, I'm sure there's rice in their bowl and more than just a little bit of rice. These people are taking time off. They give their staff. I mean, Brene gives her staff time off like 6 weeks a year or something paid so that they can go restore themselves. That's an elevated position. And I think that I always used to say, like, there's a lot of people that have a lot of respect for the life of Princess Diana, and then they have a lot of respect for people like Mother Teresa. And I found it very interesting that they passed away within weeks of each other. And I don't think either one of them could say, I did more work, better work, da, da, da. They lived differently, but was one really better than the other? It is okay. It is okay to choose how to live, but you need to be sustainable because if you're not sustainable, you're vulnerable. And how viable are you? How much can you get your word out if you are in a vulnerable state? And vulnerable can be things like we just live what we just went through. There was a health issue in the world. And hopefully people lived through it, but we saw people not. We saw businesses closing. We saw people's practices closing. And so if you are viable, it can put a layer of protection so that you can do the work. And the work for you is helping people, serving people, sharing with people, whatever it is. But if, that's where I tried to help my spiritual based people. And when they see that truly, not just say, the more money I have, the more people I can help. When they see that happen, they're like, oh, you are a beacon when you are sustainable because you get to say yes to things and no to things that serve you. Ultimately, that's who you're responsible to.
Right. Yeah, you said something really profound there. I want to make sure people are caught this, that it's how you choose to live.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the time we don't give ourselves permission to say, I want to live this life.
No one says that you have to make a certain amount of money. No one says you have to live in a certain place. We know we have autonomy. We get to do what we want when we want. You have full autonomy of your life. How do you want to live? What's the impact? And what do you need to make that happen?
We really get locked into this permission to live our life, and our health challenges of the pandemic did not help with that. You were being told that you don't have permission to live the life that you want. You need the vaccinations to get this card, especially in New York City. You had to get the vaccinations to get the card to get into certain places. So it's really hard to function here.
Well, I think that I call it a world health crisis. I think it brought up a lot of things for people around viability, choice, decisions, beliefs. It really, at the very least, helped us know ourselves, understand what was important to us. And when we felt like that was respected, not respected, like all of the things that happened around that economically, spiritually, physically, it shook up the root chakra like the world never seen. I think it was eye opening on every level, spiritual, emotional, physical. It was a very opening experience and it made people, I think, stronger in their belief for themselves.
That's really appeal to understand, like, I'm tired of people telling me how to live my life, and really standing in their power is like really a great awakening moment. Then we had another administration coming in, taking even more rights away and forcing more things. People said, no, no more of this. We're changing everything.
Well, I think that, when we were talking about our autonomy, when we're talking about the decisions that we make for ourselves, I mean, it just comes from a place inside. What feels right, what feels right, the availability of whatever you can to do with that, and your message to the world. What do you want your message to the world to be? And
Yeah, that's really getting your message into the world according to your way of being. And
exactly, and your way of being, how you feel, what's important to you. What's your mission? What's your message? I know that my message is a multiple message. I know I'm supposed to work with many people. Know thyself. Know thyself.
yeah, unfortunately, people don't know themselves. They're so caught up in their mental story on how they're supposed to live or need permissions. And there's just some work still to go for society. But I think, the pandemic really caused some introspection of like, what do we really want for ourselves and our children and all of that. So there's always good in all experiences.
Yeah, it's complex. It's complex.
Yeah, life is complex. There's one challenge after another. It's not smooth sailing all the time, or we wouldn't grow.
Yeah.
Well, Deb, I really enjoyed to have you on this conversation. If people had questions, how would they reach out to you?
It's really very easy. You can put Deb Drummond, Vancouver into Google and you will find me in many different places. But if you go to debdrummond.com, you will see many different things that I do and where I play. You'll be able to go to the events page and see where I am. We've got this big project that we're doing. But if you go to debdrummond.com and you go to the contact page and say, hey, I want to share with you or what have you, then it will go directly to my email. And my calendar link to have time to chat with me is all over my website. That just goes to my calendar link and people can grab some time.
Okay, great. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for joining us on the conversations.
Thank you for, I just love not even knowing what we're going to talk about. So I appreciate your candor about our conversation today.